this video, we will discuss features required to customize an application. So remember our water distribution network application. Imagine you are a system integrator doing this application for an end user. This end user will operate the site. As a system integrator, you might not know where the application will be installed, so you might not know what will be the name of the TBox. You might not know what the SMS recipient will be, what email address will be used, and all those kind of information. So you want the end user to be able to adapt those information through HTML page. So I provide an example of HTML page in which the end user can set the TBox name, the station address, the APN. According to the SIM card he uses, he will set the right APN, the SMS mobile number, and so on. So he can customize the mobile number, the FTP server, the SMTP server, and so on. All those through what we call runtime parameters, which are in fact tags associated to configuration. The second feature we will see, it's called tag presentation, and this is required to allow operators to access tags and to be able to modify tags. For instance, starting, stopping the valve for an operator. So let's see in TwinSoft how this is implemented. HTML page to update the configuration will be discussed in the next video. In this video, we will create the tags that will be used in the HTML page. So as we talk of tags, we will first create a group of tags. So I right-click into add a tag, make new group, and I will create a group runtime. Now for each configuration I want to change, I will associate a tags. So I have to go to the configuration themselves. So if I want to change the name of the TBox, I look and I see that I have a tab Runtime Parameters. This tab Runtime Parameters will show me from the RTU properties what are the features that I can modify in runtime. I can see the format of the tag I have to associate to the feature, and if I click on Help, I will see all the possible features that can be updated through runtime parameters. And if I go to RTU properties at the bottom, I can see that the station name is a text tag from 11 characters, and the station address is a byte. So let's do that. So station name, I double click, I enter into my list of tags, I go to runtime, make a new tag, text, and I call it station underscore name from a size 11 characters. Then do this, or click OK. Then do the same for the station address. So I double click, this was a byte, so I make a new tag, analog, station address, and it's a byte. So I have provided two runtime parameters to my application that allows to change in runtime the name of the TBox and the station address. So as name, I will not put John anymore because this will be the name the end user will apply according to the site where it is. I will just put TBox name. And this name will be changed in runtime. The station address, I will leave it to 1. Okay, so that's it for runtime parameters for RTU properties. Let's take a look to our folder runtime. So we see our two tags. Very important about the tags used as runtime parameters, no initial value. So the rule is that the tag will take the configuration as it is in TwinSoft, so this configuration here, when you send the program. After that, when you change the information, it will be maintained in all cases. If you reset TBox, if you cycle power, the modified name will be kept. So no initial value, otherwise it would take the initial value. You don't want that. You want it keeps the modified information. Let's now take a look to our FTP and SMTP service to allow modifying the settings. So let's go to FTP first. So I double click my FTP server entry. I have a tab Runtime Parameters, and let's imagine that I want this information to be available as runtime parameters. I want the username also, and I want the password. So let's go to Runtime Parameters. So my PC host. So this is the information I want to have as a runtime parameters. It's a text tag. Which format is it? Let's go to the help. Alarm IP FTP host is a text of 120 characters, and name and password are text also with 30 characters. So my PC host, new tag, text, FTP server, it's a text tag of 120 characters. Okay, okay. The username, new tag, text, FTP login, it's a text tag of 30 characters. And finally, FTP password, text, FTP password, it's a text tag of 30 characters too. Okay, okay. So this is done for my FTP. Let's do the same for the SMTP. For SMTP connection, I have created 4 runtime parameters, one associated to the server, one associated to the email from, so it corresponds to the email account you have created for your TBoxes. You can create one email account for all your TBox. This email account requires, in my case, authentication, so I provide a way to update the login and the password through runtime parameters. So that's it for SMTP. Now let's take a look to a very important feature, which are the recipient. And typically this is something you will also wish to update in runtime. Typically the SMS. So if I go to the SMS recipient, well, typically the phone number, you would like this number to be updated dynamically. So I just enter any number. I go to runtime parameters, phone number, what size is it? So alarm parameters, phone number, it's a text tag of a 20 characters. So make a new tag, text, SMS1 number, and it's size 20. Now there is another feature I would like to associate to a runtime parameter is the number of tries. So the number of tries in an alarm is the number of times the TBox will try when it fails. After 4 tries, remember that, the alarm will be auto-acknowledged. We have discussed that during the video about alarms. These tries can be used to temporarily deactivate a recipient. So if I set the tries to 0, this recipient would be deactivated because he is on holiday, for instance. But of course, I want to be able to do that dynamically. So I will associate a runtime parameter to the tries. So let's go back to runtime parameters, and tries is available, and it's a tag format byte. So let's do it. New tag, analog, SMS1, tries. And it's a byte. Okay, okay. But now, when this user is on holiday, no one else will receive the SMS. So for this, I will create a group of SMS recipient, and not all of them will be on holiday at the same time. So let's create a group of, for instance, 3 recipient SMS. So I will just rename them, for instance, SMS1, and I will copy paste this one, SMS2, SMS3, and I will create the same runtime parameters for each of them. So I go to SMS2 and I will create the runtime parameters for SMS2. New tag, text, SMS2 number. Okay, and the same for the tries. New tag analog. You see that when I select a tag in the list, it takes this tag as basic for the configuration. Okay, and the same for the 3. I select SMS2 number, new tag, text, it takes the SMS2 number with the same size, 3 number, and the tries for the recipient number 3. Analog, SMS3 tries. It's a byte, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. So I have created my 3 recipients. Now I want my condition alarm to SMS, which is this one for instance, or this one for the test. I don't want it anymore to go to one recipient, but I want it to go to a group of recipients, and according to which recipient is active, the right person will receive the message. So for this, I will create a group of recipient, add a group of recipient. I call it SMS. And in this group, I will add recipient, and I will add all my SMS recipients. You see that in a group, you can add email, FTP, or SMS in the same group. So I have my group of recipient SMS. Now I have to change in my alarm condition. Instead of sending to a unique recipient, I will send to a group of recipient. So when I select my recipient, I can select the group. Then I have 2 options, either call all recipients, in case all recipients which are active, meaning with tries more than 0, will receive the SMS. If I check this out, it means the SMS will go to the first in the list. If it fails, it will go to the second in the list. If this one succeeds, it will stop sending. So it stops when it succeeds. Call all recipient, it sends to everyone. Let's change our test SMS recipient too. So in order to test all the SMS recipient, I will send to the group and select call all recipients. Let's go to the recipient, because I would like the recipient email also to be a runtime parameters. So I just put here any address. I call address @mail.com, and this address will be updated by the user when he installs TBox. So I define it as a runtime parameters, email to. So I will first check what size it requires. So alarm recipient email to, it must be a text tag of 120 characters. So double click, new tag, text, email, address. It's a text tag of 120. Okay, okay, okay. So I still need one more runtime parameters, which is associated to the GSM and the settings for the APN. So the APN will be associated to the SIM card inserted into TBox. So I need this to be also as runtime parameter. So I go to the resources GSM configuration, and in the GSM configuration I also have a tab runtime parameters, and I have a settings APN, which is a text tag yes, 120 characters. So APN, new tag, text, just call it APN. It's a text tag of 120 characters. Okay, okay, okay. So I've done all my runtime parameters. I can see the list here, and I can send to TBox to see the result. TBox has restarted, so I can see now tags containing the configuration. So for instance, the station name, well, it has taken, when TBox has restarted, it has taken the settings in my application here. But if I change the name, F4, if I call it John, then the name of the station becomes John. And this name will be kept in case of restart, in case of reset, in case of power cycling. Just when program is sent, data will be restored. Now, if you want to keep data also when sending a new program, this can be done using a little bit of programming, and we're using tags as backup. So let's just make the example with one tag. So we will take the station name. I will just make a copy of this tag. I will rename station name B to use it as the backup of this value, and to restore the backup when I send a new program. So for this, I have a system variable which is called new program. This variable changes to 1 only when you send a new program, and I would use this information to restore the data backed up into my runtime tags. So let's do that in BASIC. So I'll go to my programs, I will add a POU, I will call backup. Let's make it in BASIC, and it's a program. Okay. So let's use this information of new program. So if trigger pause F7 on this system variable new program, so when TBox receives a new program, so I use the system variable. If the system variable is not tagged, I put exclamation mark. Then what will I do? I will take the value which is in the backup tag, and I will copy it into the runtime tag. So F7 station name, and I take the value which I have backed up. This one. And if. Now, in which case will I back up the tag? When the tag changes, so if station name, I can type the name either selected but with F7, station name B, then F7 station name B equal F7 the name. So when the name changes of my runtime parameter, I will copy the runtime parameter into the backup tag. When I send a new program, I do the contrary. I take back the name in the backup tag and I copy it into my runtime parameters. So on this way, I will never lose my runtime parameters. So let's test this and send to TBox. So I will first a little bit close all those windows here. So remember that TBox only knows main, so I have to add my new program here in the main so that it can be executed. And I close the line, I accept, escape to go back into visualization mode, and now I can send to TBox. Let's see what happened to those tags when we send the program. TBox has now restarted, so now we can see that both tags are empty. Well, this is normal because the backup tag did not exist in the tag when the program has started, so it has first to be initialized. So I will just set my runtime parameter to John. Okay, and now if I resend the program again, so it will not take this name anymore, it will keep John. So send again. restart it, and now you see the station name has been kept even after sending a new program. Okay, so this is it for runtime parameters that we will require developing the web form 2. One small topic: to allow a user level 2 to modify a tag from a web form. So a user engineer can always change any tag, any value, but a user level 2 will require the tag is authorized to be written. So this is done with what we call the tag presentation. So if I go into my list of tags, if I select, for instance, the valve, let's imagine that I want an operator, level 2, to be able to manually open and close the valve. So I have to go into the tag itself, and I have a tab presentation, and I have to select write allow. So I will do that for the 3 tags, and the 3 tags will be writable from a user level 2. A user level 1, which is read-only, of course, cannot change a value, and an engineer can always change a value whichever settings is defined here. So this applies to user level 2. As we are in the tag presentation, let's take a look to the other options. So if I activate the presentation, I can type a description, and the description can be used in the web form 2 and will be used in the report if this tag is used in data logging and this data logging declared in a report. So I want, instead of having a name valve3, I want another text to appear. So I type the text that I want to appear in the report. And when the tag is 1, I want to be the information on. And if the tag is 0, I want to see the information off. So I can do that for the 3 valves, because my 3 valves will be in data logging, and I will declare them into a report. And I can say a start and stop, for instance. And then for the first one, I can say presentation is network 1, and I can say active and out. Okay, so let's check that those tags are declared into my data logging. They are already. And let's declare them into the report. So I will select my report.trep, in which I will add an history table, the history table from the digital chronology. I will save this. I will send to TBox, and we will see the result in the report. Okay, I display TwinSoft and the browser. Remember that a report can be simulated with a browser. You remember you go with HTTP to the IP address of TBox, and you take the name of the report, and if it is a trep report, you use the extension txt at the end. So we can see here in this table our valves. So we can see in the event the name we have given to the valve, so network 123, and we can see the value we have associated to the on and off state. By the way, if you miss to do that tag presentation, you can see with this one here. So this tag corresponds in fact to the pump. If I look at the pump here, I see it has the station address 544, and you see digital Modbus address 544, and the value is 0, and the same is 1. See, if you see this kind of information in the report, don't forget it's because you have to define a tag presentation, which in the case of the pump is missing. Last point about tag presentation: fixing a writing range for an analog tag. Imagine I do some PID regulation for my pump, and I want an operator to be able to fix a set point, but limit it to something like between 10 to 50 liters per second. So first I will create a tag set point because I haven't done that yet. So let's just call it set point. It's an analog tag, float, it's okay. If I go to presentation, I see that first I can allow writing, which is mandatory for a user level 2. And I will select a minimum 10 to 50. Okay. Let's send this to TBox. TBox has now restarted, so I have a value for my set point. So this tag will not be used in our application. It's just an example to show how we can limit writing range for an operator. So first I have to log in as an operator. So remember, I have 2 users at the moment, protection, I have an engineer, and I have what I call an operator, which is read-write, which will be able to change the value into a range that I have fixed. So let's test that from TwinSoft. So I will first log in as operator. So log in, and it is operator. Okay. So I am now logged as an operator, level 2, you can see. And if I try to change, for instance, 5, I'm not allowed, because I have defined that my writing range was between 10 and 50. So 10 I can do, F4, 50 I can, 51, not possible. Okay, so this ends this presentation about runtime parameters and tag presentation. Let's take a look to the questionnaire. Next video will be the web form 2, where we will use those configuration, runtime parameters, and tag presentation. So as usual, use the same application. As usual, also the idea is that you will do what you have seen in the video. So you create a group of tags runtime. You create runtime parameters associated to the station name and the Modbus address. Remember that you can check the format and the size of the runtime parameters in the help. In the FTP entry, you create 3 runtime parameters. In the SMTP entry, you create 4 runtime parameters. In the list of recipients, you create 3 SMS recipients. So you can rename the existing one SM1 and just do copy-paste. And for each recipient SMS, you create a runtime parameter phone number and tries. In the list of recipient, for the recipient email, you create the runtime parameters to email to. Then you send all this to TBox. And when being in communication with TBox, you take a snapshot from the folder runtime, and you should see all the values in the tags. Regarding the presentation write configuration, you select the 3 valve tags and you set them write allow. For those tags valve, you set a description and you define state on and off. Then you create a tag name setPoint, format float, and you specify for this tag a writing range between min 10 and max 50. You send us the snapshot and your application. Good luck!